Thank you, and thanks for the chance to share a little of what we know. What I'm going to try and cover is, I guess, a view of adding value. And the settings for this are that there's a lot of things are in place, that the cold chain is largely organised, and I know that that might be assuming a bit that the product quality is right and meeting the market and available. And these are the things that this market is looking for and values. And I'll stress that because that is quite different to the way the domestic market looks at and values some aspects of what we produce. And therefore it creates an opportunity. And it means a different calibration. In many respects it means applauding some of the things that we might have been talking about for quite a while. And it's quite welcome. But it's not things we've necessarily done at the core. So what are we going to talk about? What is adding value? What do we mean by that? Targeting your efforts. This is not about a broadcast. This is about focusing on customers and their needs and what else does it manifest their needs around the product. Understanding the difference between customers and consumers, because they have quite different needs and you can't run them together without potentially blurring it. The need to get informed and stay informed. You don't research markets once at the start. You have a plan for staying informed all the way. They're moving very, very quickly. Too fast to think that one little dip will do the job. And then we'll profile some added value initiatives. Okay? Stress again that I've assumed that there's a lot of things in place for this because it's too hard to convey this message if we're still developing and making sure the cool chains, but those things are fundamentals, but I'm assuming you're there. So what is adding value? Really, it's about providing more than just a product by meeting more than your customers' needs around your core product offer. Okay, you only find that out by understanding what it is they want, what it is they're doing with the product, what's important to them, and different customers have different needs. It builds on a competitive product quality and value. That's a starting point, an entry level. I think it's quite appropriate to say that coming from different parts of the world, like many others are, that we're clean and green, that really, that's matching the others these days. It's not a differentiator. It brings it up to par with what the Kiwis are promising, what the South Americans are promising, and so on. And success is making your offer worth more to the customers. Okay. Some examples. That's an oyster that's nominated on a menu. Okay, so that's a Coffin Bay oyster. That's a very common way of describing that product that's carried all the way through. That's a program of food that's applauding the Tasmanian origin, that next example. Okay? These are ways that those particular products have found to get applause and value associated with highlighting their provenance stories and what they do. Okay? They didn't make a different product. They were there already with a basic product. What they've done is they've wrapped something around it, had that valued, and now their customers are valuing that and on-selling it and conveying it. Okay? Different packaging options depending on where you're going. And there are some varied channels. It's important. But a product that goes in a packaging configuration that can drop neatly into a retail shelf, that has some identification of its country of origin and its provenance story on it, and it works, is very valuable. It's going to be welcomed by the traders who are buying that product. Conversely, another product that might be in an outer of 15 kilos but breaks down to 1 kilo multiples, which might be a very convenient online order, and they're all barcoded and marked all the way through, is going to be a very welcome thing for people that are selling that product. Helping with the initiatives against counterfeiting, and there's some pretty sophisticated plays in there now. The fruit people have got films and washers they're putting over a product that can be picked up by smartphone apps to identify where these things have come from. So working with your providers in those markets to help identify those things. And then I suppose the completeness of someone like Sunset Farms in the US, where they're packaging for the right sort of portion. And I'll come back to that a bit, that different portions are clearly a way of meeting consumers' needs for convenience and at the same time capturing greater value. Going so far as putting a meal together, not just tomatoes, it's now a whole pasta combination. Somebody mentioned meals before. And then doing a great job of telling their provenance story. where it's only probably only a 60, 90-second story. That's all you've got. But for these tech-savvy people in these markets to be able to click on a QR code and go back and find that story and see that story resonate with your brand is huge, huge value that they appreciate. Okay. Target your efforts. Pick your markets and your channels and your customers based on the line capacity. China is a very buoyant market, and we have access issues into a number of markets. All those aside, don't get excited about getting an order from someone who's got a 4,000 chain supermarket if in 3 months' time you're going to have a failure because you can't meet the next order. There's nothing like a showstopper in picking off more than you can actually do. So target yourself. I mean, do a bit of basic research about how many stores and how many places and who's growing what. And bricks and mortar in general is being pretty challenged, okay? There's 15,000 hypermarkets in China, and they're in -10 customer count right now, okay? And that's because the internet is doing what it's doing for a number of reasons, tech-savvy consumers, but also because in some of those cities it's quite hard to drive from one side to the other. So it's practically a better option. Their home delivery has got different scale to ours. Someone pulls into an apartment block of 20 floors, he's probably got 50 deliveries. We don't quite have that same real estate. So all of that stuff works. Their online is 15 to 18%. In food, Korea is low 20s. We're sitting on about 3 or 4, okay? So it's serious channels. Understand their offer, their scale, their growth plans, and assure you can support it. Who are they offering it to if it's a retailer? Is it offering to the higher end of the market, or is it a bare value offer competing at that end? It's not that hard to find that out. You or someone can help you to find that out by ascertaining what they're really doing now. That's the platform for adding further value, understanding that. There's not much point in taking a packaging innovation to someone who isn't going to be welcoming of a smaller portion if that's not where their market is. And build a level of promotional activity and investment into your costings, okay? Most of these things in the retailers, and that's not the only channel we're going to talk about here, will need some promotion. And don't let that be a surprise. So do your homework on, right, I'm going to sell this product in over the course of this year. I'll sell it in for so much. 25% of it, maybe 30% of it will be on promotion. It will cost me so much. Therefore, that's my costing and how I'm going to do it, okay? And try and get away from the promotional activity purely being a price off. Try and work towards a multiple or something that'll increase consumption. It's a far better move than just moving the absolute price. So understanding customers and consumers. Some customers are traders and others are assemblers, and they're both keen buyers of Australian product. Retailers trade. They buy something to sell it, and they want to sell it about 20 seconds after they buy it, okay? And I'll pay you a couple of months later. So they don't want to, I mean, the more that you can help them trade it, the better. Food service, assemblers, completely different. They're buying an ingredient in an assembly process. So for what's important for them is the portion. It's right. How long will it keep? How much labour will it save me because it's already pre-prepared? So it's already trimmed. And they'll listen to that and they'll weigh that up with the cost of their labour and what you might be able to do if you're doing it centrally. So quite different needs at a high level, okay? Consumers, typically your customers are completely different again. I mean, for them it's about helping them with different consumption occasions, your usage, telling the provenance story in a strong way, that type of thing, which is, you know, maybe it's there with some of those other two primary distributors, but it's a different set of needs, different set of things they're going to appreciate. Online sales direct to customers are now possible, and the needs are pretty different, okay? I shared with someone before that the pharmacy sales in 2014, the Swiss gentleman here might be able to challenge me on this, my read and my drums are telling me that the retail pharmacy sales, about 20% of those sales were what they call the suitcase trade. Okay, so it's a phenomenal reflection of demand that had come here, found our retail stores, was going into those stores with suitcases, emptying the shelves and taking it back. So it's a wonderful sort of, I don't know, you couldn't get better research in terms of untapped demand. They're coming here because they want to get what we've got, because they know very well they can take it back. And those people are not using it, they're traders, they're on selling it, and they're doing well. Okay, so a great reflection of demand. Get informed and stay informed. Well, it's not me selling it from a market insights company point of view, but that's what we do. But it amazes me how some people appreciate that an early understanding of the market is a great platform, but don't appreciate the value of just calibrating that, not doing it all again, but setting it up initially so you stay informed, because things are changing quite quickly. We didn't realise how strong the online sales would be in this market. We had no feel 15 years ago that China would be generating 15% of their retail sales online. That's huge. This is not a good time to be sitting in China with 1,000 stores. Not a good time at all. In fact, around the world, that's not a good time. Firstly, form a clear view of how you can use it before you seek to gather it. That's like a research first principle. Don't go out there in a scattergun saying, I'm going to have a look. Form a view of what it is you're looking for. I need to know this. I need to know how many stores these people have got. I need to know who are the big food service players. How do they source their product? Do they take it in direct? Have they got an intermediary? If there are issues on claims, how will I handle those things? Sort all that out. That's all been done before. It's not rocket science. You can figure it out. And that, assess the access and protocol issues. How's the product received? What is the role of the intermediaries? What do they need? Are they required? Certainly some of the big retailers say take some stuff direct, but really you probably need some insurance in these markets. And it's not that bad to have, I think the exporters that I've dealt with over the years into Asia generally have two people covering the market. One of them will be looking after a lot of the big retailers close to a brokerage type arrangement and covering anything else, and another one will have a bias towards food service, and that's where they're strong. And that gives you a couple of options in a market. I don't think you need 20 or 30, I think it's probably workable like that. And find out what other Australian products are going into the market and at what time, and not just fruit and veg. There's definitely a halo of positive food provenance stories related to the Australian export efforts, and we're on a bit of a roll. We are. I hope my feel for this, and I've been around fruit and veg for a while, is that this time we're approaching these export markets with a different, more robust approach. We're not in there because the price in Sydney is no good. We're in there because we can see this is giving us growth, and we've seen enough happen to generate some of that growth, and that's encouraging. That's what's keeping us going, I think. And just lastly, some value-added initiatives. Develop a brand and a digital identity. You got to credibly execute. You got to secure it. You got to support it. I think it's pretty close to an entry level to adding value. If you're not giving your product a coat hanger, which is what I would call a good brand, to have all the other things you've got hang off, you're missing a great deal. This is something this market values and wants. So by not doing it, you're missing an opportunity to differentiate your product, to build loyalty, to do all those good things that come from a strong brand. I mean, harness new media to reach consumers who in these export markets are very tax heavy, and you don't do that part-time on the weekend yourself. This is a job you need to get some help with and advice, and you structure it so that it is sustainable. You don't want to have a burst of social media presence that goes dead on you, because it can turn around and bite you very, very quickly if you have a challenge or someone else decides to make it a challenge for you. Whilst it's a wonderful way of connecting, in short, it allows you to skip down the supply chain and build some communication with consumers. It takes work, but it's part of the platform. Package into portions that support your customers' needs and capture more value. You've probably all heard me tell the story of tomatoes in the local market. Tomatoes in the local market sell from $5 a kilo to $25 a kilo, okay? And there's no over-the-counter sales behind those products. No one's pushing them. They're just in front of consumers, packaged in a number of ways. I would add with an increasing array of brands in the local market. So the consumers are coming in and saying, which ones do I want? And they're buying them. It's probably fair to say they're not as clear about the smaller punnets being $25 a kilo, and they do comprehend a price for a pre-pack much easier and quicker than what they do a price per kilo. Consumers haven't got a clue how much is in a kilo. I mean, that's a wholesale selling multiple. It's got nothing to do with what they do. You know, we confuse the hell out of them by doing that sort of thing. So put it in a pre-pack, they understand it. If the retailer you're dealing with is dealing with the high end, allow that to be part of the range. We've got 22 products in tomatoes locally, okay, 22 to 24. They wouldn't be there if they didn't sell. And that is as sophisticated as batteries, okay? So look for that, where the opportunities are, where you've got that sort of depth. And if you're that far and you've done all those other things, investigate, probably a better way of creating a 60 to 90 second video of your growing operation and tell your provenance story. You need help to do that, but that can be an incredibly powerful thing. Incredibly powerful. I mean, invariably over the course of what we do over the year, we will find people who have recently been on, I suppose, trade trips up to China, and they'll come back. And very, very common scenario that the sales and marketing manager will look a bit disillusioned. We go, well, why? He said, oh, I had to take one of the directors with me. Well, what do you mean? Well, he's a grower. Well, no one talked to me. They just want to talk to him. So the sales and marketing guy stood there twiddling his fingers, looking at everyone, and they all want to talk to the grower because that's where they want to go. Okay. So the radar and the sensitivity and the where is it grown and all, and the value that consumers associate with that sort of stuff, and the traders, is very, very high, higher than it ever has been. And encapsulating that, seeding that, layering that into what you might tell in terms of your provenance story is good value. And it's worth, there is now an increasingly organised infrastructure of media providers who are orientating themselves towards putting together that 60 to 90 second video. That's all it needs to be. The attention span doesn't run any longer. But that can be achievable, and that can be a good platform for you to tell your story. I hope that helps. If it leaves you with more questions than answers, come and see me on stand 199 in the next couple of days. It'll be the absolute pulse of the trade show. Okay? Any questions?